Welcome to this, our first program on Wyoming Park football. My name is Fred Vander. I teach at the park, and I've been for 17 years under the very capable leadership of our head football coach, Jagt, who's my co-host today. On our program, we would like to do a few things for you. We'd like to sort of Monday morning quarterback the previous week's game. Maybe we can help you get into the minds of the coaches and the players a little bit. So we'll take you right straight to Coach Verduin and a description of a tough Lowell game last Friday night. Jack?
Thank you, Fred. I believe we're going to take a look at some of the clips from last Friday night's game, and they'll be coming up very shortly here. Lowell has an outstanding football team. They've put together an excellent squad this year. Over the past several years, they've been formidable opponents. A couple years ago, we had an outstanding game with them and fortunate enough to beat them. And last year, they turned the tables on us, beat us 13-0 at our field. So this was going to be a very hard-fought struggle, and it was played on their field. And as you probably saw in the paper, they had water on the field up until the week of the ball game. Opening the sequence here, we're on offense, and when we took the kickoff, we moved the ball reasonably well, being helped out considerably by a penalty on the part of the Lowell Red Arrows to sustain the drive for us. This play, Ray Bardwell, our quarterback, runs into our dive back, which breaks down the timing, and consequently we don't have much of a gain on this play. Basically, we are a dive football team, which means straight ahead running. We think that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and so we like the dive play, and we put that together with our option. This is the play that gave us a break on the first drive. The defensive line was in motion a little bit, encroachment, and so we had a subsequent first down. We run primarily from a pro set, which means 2 tight ends and a wide receiver, and what we call split backs. This is another dive that we run, and this one was a little more successful. Lowell used a stunning defense, a stacked 4-4, and gave us some problems on the interior with our dive series, and we had to go to our option and our triple option in order to move the football.
Now, I understood that they have a, 6'8", 270 or 80 pounder. Did he play both ways or just one?
No, Lowell is very fortunate, and they have about 57 young men on their football squad. And the philosophy of their staff is to play as many people one way as possible. And yes, indeed, they do have a young man that's about 6'8", 260 pounds. He was listed as one of the top linemen in the state of Michigan at the beginning of the season. He is a legitimate Division I prospect because of his size. He's also an excellent wrestler. I think he took about 5th in the state last year as a junior. Okay. So they did have an excellent offensive line. They did have an excellent defensive line, and they did 2 platoon, and they did do a lot of stunning on the defense.
They gave us problems scoring, no question about that. I believe the next clip, Coach, is the one where Steve Meekoff kicked the field goal, or lead into that. This was the play just before that, I believe.
Okay, this was just the prior play. Okay, this was an outside veer, or excuse me, a veer to the right side, an inside veer. And this is one of the things, when you run triple option football, your quarterback has to make split-second decisions. On this particular one, he probably would have been better pulling the ball and taking it outside, so he didn't have much of a gain in it. And this is a triple option going the other way. And in the triple option, the quarterback has to read the defensive lineman and decide whether he's attempting to tackle the dive back or not. And if he is, then the quarterback pulls the ball out and keeps it himself and takes it outside on an option play. Okay, that's the one right there.
Yeah.
He would have pulled the ball and taken it outside. There was plenty of running room, but these things happen very quickly, and when we coaches look at the film in slow motion, it's very easy to make these kinds of judgments, but when they're happening instantaneously, it puts a lot of pressure on the young man to make the proper read. Here, I believe they're discussing a penalty. We had a young man, I think, on the end of the line that they decided was not lined up properly. He wasn't on the line of scrimmage. He was our split end. We're using a formation this week, which was a little bit different than what we have been using. It was called a twins, and the wide receiver is quite far away. We're lining up here for the field goal attempt, and this is Steve Meekoff kicking, Stephen Locke holding. The offensive line does an excellent job of holding people out, and Steve does get the kick off. I was not in a great position to see the ball go through the uprights, but the official said it was just a touch wide to the left, although being partisan, our fans thought that it was pretty good, and people on the field thought it was reasonably good, but the official has the last say in the situation, and he said it was just a tad left. So we missed our first scoring opportunity after taking the ball and with the aid of a penalty moving down the field, and the field goal attempt was barely wide.
It would be nice to see this other young man of Lowell's, this young Dumas. I understand that he's college material also.
Well, Mike Dumas is an outstanding young man. He started for Lowell as a sophomore. And as a sophomore, he started both ways, both offensively and defensively. And last year, as a junior, rushed for 1,000 yards. So he's an extremely gifted athlete. He also participates in basketball and in track, and is just a real fine young man. He also is, I believe, a 3.3 student in the classroom. And just to give you an idea what kind of young man he is, when we went to the Silver Dome last year, the Friday night before we left, he called my house and wished us luck, and we chatted for 10-15 minutes on the phone, and he's just a real outstanding young man. And as a football player, he was everything that we knew he was going to be in our ballgame.
Maybe some of the film that's coming up will give us a look at it.
Okay, this is what you call a little counter trap, and there wasn't a whole lot of running room, but he made things happen and picked up 5-6 yards primarily on his own running ability. The yardage was good enough for a first down in this case.
Whereabouts is that big fella playing?
The big tackle is the right tackle. He's on this side, and this is the way they're running primarily right at the moment. On that particular play, our defense did an excellent job of bottling up Mike. But the drive that they really took the ball down the field later in the game, they ran primarily over Jim Johnson. Okay, this was supposed to be a quick pitch to their left side, to our right, but we have an outstanding defensive unit. We said at the beginning of the year that we were going to have to go a long ways with our defense because that's primarily where our experience was. And our defensive unit to this point in time has only allowed 2 touchdowns. So 2 touchdowns in 6 games is a tremendous record for those young men. The play that we last saw there was intended to be a play to our right side, but our defense penetrated sufficiently enough to turn them back, and Mike tried to bring it back the other way, and our pursuit was very good. Our people stayed in their defensive lanes and stayed at home, and dropped Mike for a loss on that one. I believe we're the first team this season that has managed to hold Mike under 100 yards. I think we had 94. He had 94 against us. But in the previous 5 games, he had rushed for over 100 yards in 3 of them and over 200 yards in 2 of them.
Just a super kid all the way around, huh?
Just
Real
an excellent
college
athlete
material.
and a fine young man.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at some more of the film ones.
Okay, here we are back on offense. And this is our twins formation to the right. And this is another dive in the middle. We were trying to play conservative football because the field's a little slippery, and we knew they had an outstanding defense. And in a game of this nature, you're trying not to play giveaway. You're trying not to give them easy scores. This is our twins left. This is a fake dive, and our quarterback, Ray Bardwell, keeps and comes outside. Now we block the end, and then he makes a decision whether to go inside or outside the end, depending on our tight end's block on it. Once we get the ball downfield, then we have the option to pitch to a trail back downfield.
At this point, I think it is that Ray started running considerably more than even...
Right, well, we found that we weren't doing a whole lot with our dive. They were shutting that down pretty good. And so we felt that we were going to have to do some more things to the outside, and so we started running the triple option more and our double option. And this last clip, Ray ran a quarterback sneak. We just had inches to go and made a first down. And that again was the straight ahead dive, no read involved, just handing off. And they were pinching their ends, trying to take the dive and take the fullback on our triple option.
Now, was that an option dive or was it predetermined?
Now that was a predetermined straight ahead dive. Basically, you got to kind of watch the head and the eyes, and that was, okay, there's a nice move on Ray Bardwell's part. We blocked the end on that, came outside, and the young man you saw at the top of the screen was their outside linebacker, whose responsibility was to come up and take the pitch man. And that's the beauty of running the option. The defense has to assign people to each one of the possible ball carriers. In the double option, it just means 2 options. Either the quarterback is going to come down and run off tackle, or he's going to come down and pitch to the trail back who takes it outside. In the triple option, then, we have 3 options, the first of which is we might give it to the fullback. And the whole play is determined by the reaction of the defense. And so you got to kind of watch and see where the quarterback's eyes are to tell whether it's a double option or a triple option. The quarterback's eyes have to go to the defensive tackle, which is his read, and that's how you can tell whether he's reading or not.
So the assumption in this offense is that no matter what they do, it's wrong, as long as our people do what's right.
Well, we hope so. There are a lot of folks that would like to run some option. There are a lot of folks that talk about running a little option. But you have to make a definite commitment to your offense, and we have made a definite commitment to running the option, and we really like the triple option. If we could run it to the expectations that we would like to have for our young men, that we'd run the triple option exclusively, inside veer and outside veer.
I think this next series will take us on up into where we get into scoring position, or at least the fake field goal, if you'd want to see that one again.
Okay, we moved the ball pretty well on offense, but we did make some mistakes. So, you know, these are just 16, 17, 18-year-old young men playing for the fun of it. And they do the best they can, but you do make mistakes. And there again was just a regular dive. And we're trying to be conservative. We don't want to turn the football over. We're down in scoring territory. And even if we don't score, we at least get good field position. And I think that was the story of the first half of the football game. we constantly had them in their territory, which limited what they could do. Okay, and there is the pass.
There's the touchdown.
There it is right there. That's what we call a seam pass. That was out of our twins formation, and we run the option that way, and that receiver was constantly going downfield to drive the people deep. And our backup quarterback, our junior quarterback, said that that play was open. He walks along the sideline with me, and we chat about the offense, and he was the one that called that play. He said it was open anytime we wanted to use it, and so we went to it on that one and scored a touchdown. Ray Bardwell made a nice throw, and Jason Gullidge made an excellent catch and backed into the end zone.
Backpedaled there, yeah.
We've been having a little trouble. There are those of our fans who over the years have come to watch us play, and they think that we have an aversion to throwing the football, but we very much would like to throw the football. Problem is that when you throw it and don't catch it, you got 2nd and 10. If you do it again, you got 3rd and 10, and pretty soon you got to punt the ball without making any yardage. We feel that our young men get off the ball very well, our linemen, and get into the defense, and that with our running backs being able to read defenses and read cuts, and with various type of offensive philosophy that we have, that we can move the ball. We will pass anytime we think that they're giving us that as a weakness. We feel that they have to stop the run. And if they're trying to stop the run, they're weakening themselves in the perimeter someplace, and that's what we're looking for. And that's where Brad Stickler, our backup quarterback, he's constantly looking, because he wants to know what's going on, so when he gets in there, he can start exploiting that defense. And we have some very definite ideas on what we want to accomplish on offense. And so Brad is looking for these things, and as a matter of fact, last week in the Forest Hill Central game, Brad called another play down on the goal line. He says the 2 pattern is open anytime you want to take it, and so we called the play, and unfortunately we overthrew the receiver. He was wide open, but we rushed the pass a little bit. We got a little excited, but again, they're just 16, 17, 18-year-old young men.
All right, let's continue with the video.
Okay, we're on defense here, and they are in need of a first down, and one of their philosophies is rolling one way with their quarterback and backs, and then throwing back against the grain, taking the backside receivers and running them down and out. And we got burned 2 or 3 times on that particular maneuver, and that was one of them right there. It was a very key first down for them. Now here's the reverse again. We thought we had a fumble on this one. We've been working very hard on stripping the ball carrier of the ball. The first couple tacklers come in and stand them up, and the rest of the people come in and try and strip the ball loose, and we thought we had accomplished that task on that particular play, but the official was not in agreement with us.
They're often wrong, aren't they?
Well, in our estimation, yeah. But they're doing the best job they can do too. Okay, that was a draw play. Of course, we're keying very hard on Dumas, and that was number 40, one of their other running backs. And they made some pretty good yardage on that.
Overall, I think in this series, the defense did a pretty good job on it.
Well, we were very pleased with our defense the whole night. They did an outstanding job. Here's Mike Dumas again. Excellent play on the outside there by, looks like Stephen Locke. Stephen Locke is an outstanding linebacker. This is his 3rd year as a varsity starter. He's already played 2 years in Silverdome, and he's just an excellent young man. He's like Mike Dumas. He's a 3.6 student, just an outstanding young man in school. Okay, in this particular one, they punted to us, and we didn't want to handle it deep inside our own territory, so we just stayed away from the thing. We think it's very important that you handle punts, and our deep people are pretty sure-handed. Our quarterback, Ray Bardwell, plays the safety, and our wide receiver, Jason Gullidge, is the up back to take the short kicks on fair catches. And they have done an excellent job for us this year. We don't like the ball to hit the ground. When it hits the ground, it's going to roll, and when it rolls, you're losing 10, 15 yards that are very hard to come by.
And I think Lowell found out the hard way when they caught it. And
Yeah, if you don't handle the ball cleanly, it can give you major problems. Major.
and we exchanged fumbles with them or whatever. Okay, let's go back to the tape.
Okay, we are lined up in punt formation here. This was a very pressure kick. It was just before the halftime, and we had failed to make a first down, and they were obviously going to be coming because they had nothing to lose if they roughed our kicker or whatever. And our kicker, Bob Lampaney, got an outstanding kick away, and we got downfield and covered it in a big hurry, and as you said previously, they made a mistake, and we recovered the mishandled punt.
Unfortunately, 2 plays later, the shoe was on the other foot.
Well, we went to the barn. There was only a couple minutes or a couple seconds left in the half, and we thought we'd just try and go downtown with it. They play halves in the perimeter, and we were trying to beat them on a sideline, and we ran what we call a pipe pattern, where you take receivers and run them down both sidelines and run the tight end right up the middle, trying to stretch their halves coverage of 2 defensive people playing deep halves. And unfortunately, we picked the wrong side to throw to, and they intercepted. We were trying to stay away from Mike Dumas because he is such an excellent athlete, and he covers a lot of ground. And that was the one pass that we did have intercepted, and it was what you label a Hail Mary or desperation type pass. It wasn't what you'd call a possession-type pass play. This is right at the end of the first half, and they too now are going to go deep in an effort to try and break a big play. And our perimeter is coached by our defensive coordinator, Ron Ingalls, to give up some things underneath and in front of them, but never make the bad play by going after the ball and missing it and letting them score an easy touchdown.
That may be a good point here, Coach, that the fans might often see it as a case of miserable defense when, in fact, the young men are really doing what they're supposed to do to prevent a touchdown.
Well, in this play right here, they just made probably 35 yards. And, of course, that goes on the stat sheet as a completion, and they get 35 yards passing. But that means nothing as long as they don't score. It's not always the team with the most yardage that wins the ball game. It's usually the team with the most points.
All right, let's go back to the tape for a minute.
Okay, we're on defense again here. And again, this was a play where we did a good job of pursuit, and we stripped them and caused a fumble, and we recovered.
Okay, I would suspect that we're getting a little short of time. Wonder if you could give us a brief look at what we might expect Friday night against Kennewa Hills.
Well, Kennewa Hills is a fine program. Over the years, they've had excellent athletes. They've gotten into a good strength program, and in a recent powerlifting meet that we had with some of their kids in it, they are getting very, very strong. They have a new coach over there the past couple of years, John Maxim, who is an outstanding coach. He's been around, coached at several of the major schools in the area, and I think that he's really got the program coming. This year, they played some tough games, and their record maybe isn't indicative of the type of young men that they have on their ball club. They have basically 22 seniors on the squad that have had previous experience, and they are excellent athletes, and they have a great deal of self-confidence. They have pretty good size. They have a quarterback that throws the ball quite well, and this is one of the things that I think they try to accomplish. They like to throw the football, and they have a couple of backs that are pretty good speed, and they try to power the ball and finesse it, kick it outside, pitch sweeps. Defensively, they are a 53 team. They like to stack and stunt. They bring their linebackers quite often, and it seems like the last 3 weeks we're seeing a lot of that. People bringing their linebackers are trying to give you bad play, and that's why occasionally they are very successful in giving you a bad play, just because it makes it very difficult for your young men to pick up the stunts that they are running at you.
So you think that's a specific defense against our offense, do you?
Well, I don't know. It's getting to look like that. Last couple of weeks, we've had stacked defenses, which means a linebacker right behind the defensive lineman. And in that posture, the lineman can go one way and the linebacker can go the other. And the next time they just change directions. And then the next time the lineman just plays regular and the linebacker plays regular and just flows to the play.
You mentioned early on, just briefly, if you could comment on it, the fact that they established a weight program. You really think that's important?
Oh, definitely. I think that all areas of athletics, be it high school, college, professional, everyone has a weight program, and it's not just in football, or wrestling, and that sort of thing. Basketball programs, major basketball schools, North Carolina, Indiana, they all have in-season as well as out-of-season weight training programs. And part of the weight training program is to provide the young men with stability around the knee and shoulders and that sort of thing, to strengthen the muscle structure that holds the body parts together. And so actually, in a lot of the reading that we have done, that any coach that does not provide their young men with a sound weight training program is really remiss, because they are not taking care of the potential injury factor that is associated with any athletic sport. The other side of the coin, of course, would be like in golf and tennis, where maybe you really don't have the injury factor, but there is the strength factor and there is the endurance factor. And so every program, be it golf, tennis, football, wrestling, baseball, whatever, they have their strength programs.
So there would be a different program for each sport then?
Definitely. There are just a multitude of programs that are provided by various institutions and by various places that are into the strength programs, that do studies and research. And it's ever-changing, like any other science. It's ever-changing, and new ideas are brought into it. But it is a real important part of any athletic program.
Well, good. And we'd like to thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you can join us for the rest of the series. We'll give you a better look at more of Wyoming Park football. And we certainly invite you to stay right there and watch Rogers football coming up next. Good evening. Welcome back to Behind the Gridiron. This is Fred Vander from Wyoming Park High. And tonight we'd like to take a look at a few of the highlights from last week's game and to interview a couple of very special people. It always gives us pleasure to showcase the people behind the scenes of Wyoming Park football. Tonight on my far left we have Steve Locke. Steve is a varsity football player on our team. He's been playing varsity football for 3 years. He's a varsity basketball player for 2 years. And he runs track in the spring. If that's not enough, he's in National Honor Society with about a 3.7 average. And he's a member of the student government. The man right to my left here Dick Locke is his father, who coaches the same team that Stevens plays on. And Dick is certainly no newcomer to the game either. He's been coaching football for about 22 years. And 16 or 17 of those, is it, Dick? 19.
19.
At the park. He also coaches boys and girls track, and he's a phys ed instructor. Until recently,